All right, today is Sunday, April 27th, and we're going to take a quick look at the usual EUR USD, pound dollar, dollar yen, and also want to take a look at NVDA and TQQQ along with the S&P 500. So not much action that happened the past week. I mean, we still got some moves, but nothing too crazy as the volatility is still there, but not as crazy as it was or it seemed about 2 weeks ago, and where we had some crazy moves. But anyway, we're going to start off with the Euro USD on the daily chart and what I'm looking at now, what I'm planning to do with my current long positions. I mean, I still have them open, still doing well, but there is a key area that I'm looking at that I want to keep an eye on to see if we're going to hold support or if this is going to be a continued bullish trend, which I feel that it will be, or we are in the beginning stages of a good Euro USD rally to the upside. But I still want to see this area of support. So these two trend lines that I have drawn up here, I don't have a ton of trend lines hidden here on higher time frames, but for the daily, there's two trend lines that I'm watching right now that want, it's going to give me the confidence to stay long and start maybe even possibly adding positions if I see some Euro USD strength coming back in. So this support here to this resistance, and we had some resistance here, pull back, then we had that drive up. So since this was a pullback back here, this is also now another marker for me to draw a trend line from this low to this resistance and looking for an area of support here. So, I mean, we pulled back a little bit here, but not quite to this trend line. Then we make another drive, but of course, last week, which was kind of expected, right? Because we had such a bullish move that, we had to pull back some, right? And that's where we are. This is how we ended for the week. So still bullish on this as long as these trend lines hold. And I'm also paying attention at 1.12. That's one that I want to keep an eye on, because if I put the yearly pivots on, you can see there's a median area right in here, right? Well, slightly above 1.12. So I want to stay above that 1.12 and see if we can make another run towards 115 again, and then finally break it so we can start trending higher. If I hide the yearly pivot points and I put the 10-year pivots on, you can see there is an intermediate, what I call intermediate levels, resistance here right around that 115 area. And we might, it might go sideways a little bit. But again, the key marker that I want to see here is that we stay above these trend lines here and we hold above 1.12. That's ideal for me because I want to see this trend continue. And of course, my original target is 1.2 plus. I want to see 1.2, 1.22 is possibly. So if we move over to the weekly chart, you'll see that last week I was talking about the broadening patterns. So the good thing is that we stayed above the broadening pattern here. So we had some resistance starting here, and we had these couple of resistance, like about a couple of weeks of resistance. And then finally we stood above this trend line. So that's one I want to keep an eye on and see if we hold that support. And we can maybe make another drive to, again, like I said, on the daily chart, 115, and then start moving up and creeping up so we can, make that run to 1.2. If I switch over to the monthly chart, and let me just hide the pivot points, the 10-year pivot points here. You can see there's still a broadening pattern over here that I'm keeping an eye on as well, right? I have multiple screens, so I'm keeping this chart up so I can make sure that, this is still on target, right? So we still have this broadening pattern here, and I feel like we're going to make that drive all the way up towards 1.2 again, which has been a strong area of support and resistance in the past. Over here in 2020, And 2018, we had some strong resistance around that area. Then going all the way back towards 2008, 2010, and 2012 was a strong base until we finally broke that back in 2014, going into 2015. So the Euro USD for me is looking pretty bullish right now, and that's how I'm going to keep my long positions on. So as long as we go to the daily and we keep above that 1.12 area, I'm going to continue to look for bullish momentum. So I move over to the pound dollar. I was talking about last week about this expanding broadening pattern, and still I kind of adjusted this trend line. I had it a little bit over here, which I felt we were probably going to make a break above it, which we did, but I lined it up a little bit more towards this resistance here, and still lines up kind of perfect. It's not going to be textbook perfect, but you still see a little bit of consolidation here, right? We didn't make a big strong drive down as of yet, at least. We still have this move, I think it was on Thursday, strong bullish move followed by a somewhat bearish move on Friday. But right now, I still feel that pound dollar will still continue to the upside. If you go to the weekly, you can see if I zoom out, we still have that broadening bottom pattern with this resistance all the way back about 1.4. So I'm still looking for 1.4, and then we move over to the monthly. You can see that you could see a big break of this broadening top pattern, which we broke down, consolidated a little bit, and I'm still looking for that drive up to 1.4. Then we're going to go a little above 1.4. There may be some resistance here, but ultimately, I think we might get above that. So I'm bullish on Euro USD and pound dollar right now. Dollar yen, if I go back to the daily, this kind of zoomed out. I have a small position on the dollar yen right now, and I'm looking for a move based on this broadening top pattern. Now, if I move over to the weekly, you can see that we found a base here. So we had previous strong support around 2023. We had strong support around 24 September 2024, and then now we're finding some support here. But these patterns usually tend to break down below this area of support. This is a bearish pattern, and then it's coupled with a large broadening pattern. So I'm bearish on dollar yen. I have a target of 133 even, and that's where I want to see basically us get down to. So it's also going to come down to how strong the USD gets sells off. If it starts selling off, then we'll see we can see an aggressive move down to that target. But for now, definitely overall, I'm bearish on USD across the board, especially against the euro, the pound, and the yen. So that's one I want to keep an eye on, and I'm going to keep holding on to those positions as long as the USD keeps getting selling off. So that's for the FX pairs. That's pretty much what I'm looking at right now. So I'm going to move over onto, I don't really trade individual stocks, but NVIDIA is one that I keep an eye on because it's a tech giant, right? So that's one I want to see how it develops. And usually it's, it's a big company everybody follows. So I don't follow it on the daily, but on the weekly, if I zoom out just for a second here, I know we had a pretty strong rally last week, but I'm still not convinced of this move just yet, right? Because if I go to the monthly, you can see this large broadening pattern. I'm not going to say we're going to make this huge run down, but for me, I still feel like we, have a little bit more. We could be trading back into the 90s to end the year on the monthly chart. So this month is going to be pretty interesting to see how we close this one out. But right now, I'm not bullish on NVIDIA right now. At least at this very moment, I'm not gonna say that we're gonna continue higher because I'm fully not convinced on it yet. So if we go to TQQQ, that's one that I'm also following. This I know we have look how strong this lower wick is. but still not convinced on it yet because I want to see how we end the month. I mean, we only have a couple of days until we get into May. So this one, I want to see how it develops. If we start swinging lower, I think a sell-off could continue into May and June. So that is one that I want to keep an eye on and see how that develops. SPX, this is I'm not even really following it on the weekly, on the monthly. I'm actually looking at an interesting play on the 3-month chart. So if I zoom all the way out, I just find this really fascinating, and I'm wondering how this one's going to play out, right? I have a trend line going all the way back from 1929, which I know is a really long time back, but that trend line lines up with another resistance in April of 2000, and now it looks like we're wedging up all the way up here. It's pretty wild to see. But if I zoom back on the 6-month chart, you can see a little bit more clearly. I'm really curious to see what we get up here. Now, is there a divergence? There is no divergence on the MACD. It's just big swing, but there is an interesting divergence on the RSI, which is, I find, pretty interesting. It's going to be really interesting how this one plays out up here, because it looks like it's getting wedged all the way up here. And I wonder if that's going to end up playing out at least somewhat of a significant move to the downside in the coming months, or maybe the next 3 years. So this is an interesting one to keep an eye on. And I'm definitely going to mark this up and pin it so that I can see or actually start getting downward momentum, right? Because overall, we know that the U.S. economy is not doing well right now. So if things start adding up with tariffs, interest rates, and whatever economic data that we get, it could really spell some bad news for the economy overall, right, and the stock market. So this is, I find this to be a really interesting chart, and again, this is one I'm going to keep an eye on. So that's going to be it for this week's analysis. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to go back quickly to the EUR USD, and I want to see, right? I want to see if we stay above and start trending higher this week. We do have some markers for economic data this week that I'm going to pay attention to, but again, we want to see if we start holding this up. Market's about to open up in about 15 minutes. We'll start seeing some trading, and see how we start trading to go for the beginning of the week. All right, with that said, I hope you enjoyed the short analysis. We'll see what happens. And like always, good luck and trade safe. I'll see you in the next one.